Thank you so much for staying tuned to Good Morning Abuja. Well, up next, I'll be interacting with a very successful entrepreneur for so many years and counting. She will be helping me to x-ray the all-important topic, building a business empire from the scratch. Help me to welcome my guest, Barrister Oluwatosin Abraham. Good
Thank you. Good
morning.
morning, man.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for
It's so
having
good
me.
to meet
It's
you.
good to meet you too. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So first of all, in an industry where a lot of women don't excel, entrepreneurship, you have been able to carve a great niche for yourself, working on so many different interesting projects. What spurs you? What motivated you to reach for the stars?
Determination. I would say determination. And in my line of work, we go out to all these rural villages, underdeveloped areas, or IDP camps to give out shelter, food. So we have batches that we have reformed. And then I noticed that as we had gone out over 4 years, most of the issues we've come across is people being displaced. But then, if they don't have direct access to land, not only people living in low income communities now, even the average people. So I thought about it and we developed this app that is called Shift to Landlord.
Okay, beautiful. So now our focus is on how one can build a business empire
Empire.
from the scratch, all the way up. What are the basics that an individual will need to take into consideration when they set out to build a business?
Mm. So first of all, you have to map out what you want to do. Before you can say you want to go into business, you have to think about the problem you're solving. What exactly do you want to solve? Because most people enter business because of their passion. Like I said, catering was my passion. And from there, I dived into the business aspect. But going into real estate basically was, aside from the fact of making money, was to solve a problem. And that's the housing need. We know that basically real estate people or realtors talk about how you can grow your wealth through real estate. Yes, when you buy lands and all that. But if you cannot carve out a precise problem, then you might as well just do anything as much as the way every other person is doing. So you have to carve out what problem exactly you are solving. Who are you solving these problems for? You have to have your market audience, your market target, and also how scalable is this um, idea that you want to start marketing as a business. That's like the first three things. Because if you don't have like a market target, if you don't know what exactly you are solving and who you want to solve it for, then you can't actually know how where your most money or your most revenue will be coming from. So first of all, pick the problem you are to solve, target your market audience, and then look at the niche that you're going to carve for yourself and how you're going to scale it. Talking about real estate and shift to landlord, I already saw that people have shelter deficiency, and we know that if we want to solve a problem of housing, we have to do it on a long term for people who don't have much or bulk of money at once. So we started with the shift to landlord phase one. It's an app, but we started it manually, and within 1 month, over 50 people had subscribed that they are interested. And it shows that this is a serious problem that needs
Indeed,
to be solved. Yes.
needing
Solution.
solutions.
At first, I was just like, okay, let's do it really little in our corner. We just need 50 people. But within 1 month, we're already oversubscribed. I'm like, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board and go and expand our reach of these lands. Another thing that I've not said is who are the people, because it's not easy for you to just start up a multi-billion-dollar business without having to identify yourself with people who have gone ahead of you that are doing great in that sector. I trained under Dr. Stephen Akitayo. I don't know if you know
I
about
think
him.
I heard about
Yeah,
him.
they call him the Rolls Royce of real estate. And I had to go to intern. I didn't mind. Most people these days just want to start up a business because they have the money and they just feel like it's just about calling the shots. They don't want to come down to the level of learning from people that are even younger than them. Because there are some people that have been in that sphere that know more than you. And knowledge is power. What you don't know is greater than you. So I had to go and learn for 6 months.
Wow.
Yes, I need to go and learn. I already knew the legal parts of properties in Abuja and FCT and how it goes, but I needed to learn the nitty gritty, the business aspect. And I learned from being an intern. And yes, it wasn't easy, but I needed to show up, and you have to be determined. And that's the part that some people don't know. Sometimes they just feel like it's about reading up on social media and watching videos. Most times I think it's about identifying yourself with that niche so they can know, so that when you come into limelight or when you are growing out into limelight, they can identify that we know the root of this person. You're not just a scam or you're not just a sham. This person has a defined idea, it has a defined vision, and we know where they started, we know where they learned from. We can trace them to somebody.
Wow, interesting. Growing a business to an enviable height is obviously a hard work,
It is.
you know, and then growing wealth is not something you come to overnight.
Overnight.
It's going to take a culture of hard work
work.
and consistency. Talk to me more about this.
The hard work.
Why, yes, the hard work culture. How important it is that, especially young people, they need to imbibe that culture of consistent hard work.
Yeah, consistency and hard work. I know there are so many people saying it this day that you have to draw a vision plan. Yes, which is important, but sometimes it doesn't work for everybody like that. But it is important to be able to define your goal. Most people want to write that, but they don't want to do the work. And the truth is, if you cannot do the work from the scratch, there is no how you'll be able to know the nitty gritties, even when you scale up to be a big or a known name. Because if somebody is ripping you off in your team, you won't be able to detect it. Hard work for me is consistency. If you're not consistent, I don't think you're ready to do the work. And also the vision of where we are going to. One of the visions for this year is about creating over 1,000 landlords.
Wow.
Under chief to landlord. I remember earlier in the year, I don't think I've said this, but maybe I'll still say it. When we were doing, I didn't have so much of a team because we were recruiting marketers to come and spread the word. And you know, there's a part of finance. And when you don't have so much finance, there's a way you'll be limited. However, I like to tell people that it's not only when you have money that you can get things done. Relationships can help you. So we did this roadblock spree whereby we stand on the road and share flyers. I know they used to do it in the past and they don't do it again. And I was doing it rigorously, thinking that I'm the owner of this vision. I should probably just direct people to go. No. I went forefront with them. Stepped into it, climbed on the bridges with a bell, like Okrika style, and then with the placard, and I was bringing. It had this inscription from 50K a month to a land in hands in 10 months. Those are the hard work. So that the things that people will just look at it as despicable, but you don't care because your eyes is really on your goal. You have to set your eyes. I would say be a lane minder because you can be easily distracted. Get out of there, do the work. Let people see that yes, you are doing this work. The results might not come immediately, but then there is a track record and the universe is taking notes. So I went out. I do the rural, some people say rural rugged. I call it, yes, I do the rural evangelism, like they say. So I call it evangelism. So we go out and share the flyers. We know it's real estate.
It's still rugged.
It's still rugged. And then we're like, is that not this lady on the fly on that is the owner of this event? I'm like, no, I'm the sales lead. Because at some point you need to be the manager, the HR, the team lead and everything, because some people can't step onto it. Another thing is you need to tell your team members or teach your team members to be co-owners. Sometimes when you're working with a team, there are some people that like subjugating or talking to their teammates as their owners, like they own them. And then it makes those ones do the work from an outside space. But like, okay, it's not my business, it's not my job, so let us do it. If they do it, if they don't do it, they will get salary. That way, you're not going to hit any target. You need to make them know that they are co-owners of this project, and as long as they take it as their own, then it will move faster. But the moment that they are marketing something that is for everybody's good, because that's where your salary is going to come from outside, then there's no way you can make sales. because we are in the business of sales in the end of the day.
At the end of
At
the
the end of the
day,
day.
every business is basically more about either selling one idea or
Or the other.
product.
Another thing
the
I didn't
other.
say is I kept on attending events that will propel the knowledge of thrift to landlord. I attended any real estate as at last I think I dedicated it to attending events and capacity building, following trainings, especially Dr. Stephen Akitayo. He has leveraged on social media enough that if you want to learn anything fast and good, you just jump on his social media space. He's always online. I learned from that because for him to be able to build $1 billion industry, not only in Nigeria, in Cathy Houston, Texas, and in the United Kingdom.
So someone wanted to build a business empire from the scratch. How can they leverage social media, to boost whatever
Whatever they are
brand
doing.
they're doing?
I just feel like social media is a miracle because without social media, I don't think I would have made the amount of sale I made last year. Most people just think social media is for their friends and family, so they just accept who is their friends and family. When you are doing a business, how will people be able to know what you're doing if you don't talk about it enough on a space that nobody knows
Put it in
you?
their face.
Put it in their face. I have a strategy, and I'm sure some people might be angry with me, but my eyes is set on a goal. If you tell me to take you off my broadcast list, I would. I will even block you and put you on another line so that you can just see me personally. Because every morning I do a broadcast.
Wow.
People fail to realize that WhatsApp is a social media space. The fact that you just post something about it does not mean there are people that you don't know that you've added their numbers and they see what you do. I will start from WhatsApp because it's the least used by
Like immediately I
Nigerians.
saw your WhatsApp DP and everything, and I said, "Wow, this is a determined woman."
Yes.
It was there in my face.
Yes, it has to be in your face. And you might not even know, you might not get to know who I am at first, but the fact that I constantly send you messages, when you think about doing what I do, I will be the first person that comes into your mind.
Finally, because of time, talk to us. Building a business, how important is financing and accountability? Very quickly before
I
we
had
go.
to take a class on financing, and I'm still taking a class of financing and accountability. First of all, you can't do a business on your own, most especially if you want to be detailed and if you want to make gain. Because easily you can just put your hand into the purse when you feel like there's an emotional need for the business. But then you have to be accountable to someone. And I told you, subjecting yourself to people who have gone ahead of you and are doing better than you, it's very, very useful. People who have done well in business. You're accountable to them. This is the amount we made revenue for last month. Then this is what the office has taken. This is what I have taken. Because people don't talk about what they took personally because they have access to the account. Yes. And then you have to return it. But you won't return it if you're not accountable to anybody. Yes. So if it is needed for you to take classes, please do. I follow people who do the same thing I do. And I've learned from them a lot. So
thank you for coming and
thank you so
educating
much,
us.
Ma. I really
Well, there
appreciate
you
it.
have it. Building a business all from the scratch, all the way up takes consistency, hard work, accountability, and of course, a whole great deal of discipline. Stay with us on the show. Good morning, Abuja. We'll be right back after the break. All right, welcome back. Up next, I'm going to be discussing something that is very, 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 I'm passionate about it as a matter of fact, because essentially I am a broadcaster. So, up next, we'll be taking a look at the prospects and challenges of radio broadcasting industry. And I have with me my guest. He is a seasoned broadcaster in his own right. In fact, I like to call him a guru in that industry. Please help me welcome Mr. Ibrahim Pam. He's the Managing Director, CEO, AMAC Broadcasting Service Limited. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me in your station today again.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, first of all, tell me what spurred your interest in the broadcast industry in the first place, and how has the journey been so far?
Well, thank you very much. Broadcasting is a very interesting industry. I remember far back then in those days when we were growing up in the early 90s, and we used to watch programs on NTA. I remember even in the late 80s, we used to watch some of these drama on NTA, and then of course, then we had only, public broadcast stations, and we were so interested in the programs that they were reeling out until the advent of the private broadcast industry when it came up, during the IBB regime. And then we picked interest that, oh, what we used to listen to on radio, what we used to watch on TV, we also want to partake in it. And then it gave us that opportunity. So for me, what really triggered my interest into broadcasting is the fact that the kind of contents that we watched then on TV, the kind of contents that we listened to on radio were very enlightening, very educating, very entertaining. And we wanted to do something to be able to be part of the
Just
society.
be a part of it.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how can you say that? What has made radio stay relevant even in today's digital world?
Yeah, radio has always been very, very key in the socio-economic, setting of the nation, and then of course of the society generally. And what has made it very, very relevant, even though we still have this advent of new technologies, the fact that the kind of programs that are reeled out, in radio is very different from what you can find in the other, in the aspect of the digital technology. Because okay, if we're talking about digital technology now, we're looking at the social media, which dominates the industry, so to say. And then the kind of contents that you see there are not verifiable. Most times are not verifiable, and they are subject to what I've just saw on social media now. Is it true? But on the normal radio, terrestrial radio broadcasting, there are rules that guides the industry. Rules from the National Broadcasting Commission, rules from other key players to ensure that whatever stories you give out through the media are verifiable. And it is control, there's this kind of control. That's what makes it, very relevant. So whatever you see on the social media today, is garbage in, garbage out. But then what you get to hear on radio, your terrestrial radio, or what you get to watch on television are verifiable facts. So that is what makes radio to become very, very relevant. Whatever information you get on radio is reliable.
Yes, because most of the time it will come with a source,
Exactly.
verifiable
Exactly.
source.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because given how the broadcast industry has evolved, over time, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges facing the radio broadcast industry?
To be frank with you, there are a myriad of challenges in the industry. Over time, we've had this issue. First of all, let's look at the economic aspect of it. The issue of power is a critical challenge, okay, in the industry. Now, each time you hear of the collapse of the national grid, and then broadcast industries will have to now begin to think of alternative sources of energy, solar, generating sets. Even my station, what I do now is my station, 24 hours I run on solar, because the public means cannot be relied upon again. That is challenge number one, power. Then of course another challenge is the issue of equipment. Broadcast equipment is a capital intensive venture. They are quite expensive, particularly the kind of equipment that are in vogue now. Even in those days, the equipment, okay, if you want to use the analog equipment, nobody uses analog equipment anymore. So the digital equipment, the so-called digital equipment, are very, very expensive. And then looking at the exchange rate of our currency now to the dollar, because all these equipment are imported from different countries. So whichever country you're going to be importing this equipment from, you can be rest assured that you will pay for it dearly, because of the exchange rate. And then of course the issue of training, unlike the public stations like NT and FRC and VON, they have their various training institutions. NT has what we call the TV college in Jos. FRCN is running the NBA in Ikeja, Lagos. That's where they train their staff. And then the challenge generally has been that of lack of training, lack of capacity building for practitioners, particularly in most of the public, in most of the private institutions. And then, of course, issue of content, where you don't have the proper content, where people just go there and they just give you out anything because they have the microphone, they have the lens to them, the lens of the camera, so they just go out and say anything, or they do anything. Next thing is they start opening the phone lines and they expect people, callers to
Calling.
to call and then make their opinion on one thing or the other. So lack of proper content development and management is also a key challenge, one of the key challenges in those industry. It goes on and on, so many of these challenges.
Hmm. Let's check how the advent of social media has impacted the radio broadcast industry. Would you say it has propagated or it has hampered any progress?
To be frank with you, the social media has improved the broadcast industry to a great
Oh,
deal.
great. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it has improved the industry in the sense that, okay, most of our young people today, they prefer to use their phones, their iPhones, their Android phones, their iPads, their systems, to by just a
Access.
click of the button, they know what is happening the world over. And it has helped greatly because most of the stations now who are also utilizing or deploying those technologies, are getting value for that. But then in most cases, when because the social media is not regulated, so to say, to some extent, therefore those quacks, have also taken,
They're thriving as well.
exactly, to compete with the professionals who are making use of the social media, to send out whatever kind of information they need to send out to the public. But it has helped greatly because it has been able to give a wider space for users. These days now, people don't sit down to say, okay, I want to go and listen to radio, I want to watch television. So they just use their phones and, by
Have
the click, and
access.
they see everything happening. So it has helped greatly.
That's nice. All right, we'll take a short break at this point. When we come back, we have a whole lot more into this very insightful discussion. Welcome back. This is still Good Morning Abuja on the Unity Station. If you're just joining us, and we are discussing the challenges and, of course, prospects of radio broadcast industry. And I have a guru and a veteran in his own right on the hot seat, Mr. Ibrahim Pound.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
in an era of so much online streamings, podcasts, how can radio stations remain very competitive and, of course, stay relevant? Do they have to do something with their programming, or what do they need to do?
I think I started establishing this before now. What makes a radio station remains in business, especially in this era of podcasting
Yep.
and streaming, is the fact that the station should transit from the normal operations, from the normal terrestrial operations, and then also look at ways by which it can diversify its operations. Now, there are programs that you can move over to the podcast. There are programs that you can move over to the other social media handles. Now, most times, what radio stations do these days is they stream live. They stream live either on Facebook or YouTube, or they can do that simultaneously during their programs, maybe during their news or their flagship programs. So what they do is to stream, and that gives them more audience because, like I said initially, most of our audiences now they don't have the time to go and tune to a radio station to listen to your program or to listen to news or to listen to any announcement or to even listen to adverts. But if you stream, if you now engage the social media, it gives you a wider audience because most of the audience have now relocated, they have transited, they have moved from terrestrial to social media. So radio stations become more relevant if they are able to deploy the use of this technology, the social media technology.
Great. Thank you so much. I remember growing up and just conceptualizing all kinds of program synopses, from different diverse angles. So today, what are the opportunities that would exist for upcoming broadcasters and content creators in radio?
The first opportunity there is that you must be a trained broadcaster. You must be a professional. You must go through the formal training institution. You must go through the university to study mass communication. You must go through, we have other institutions that also teach, of course, the same courses, journalism, and so on and so forth. So the opportunities are there. You don't just wake up from the blues and say, okay, I want to do radio broadcasting. The first step is that once you go through that training, you acquire the knowledge. Now, after the knowledge, what next is to begin to apply that knowledge, to put it into practice. Now, you must learn how to develop content. You must learn how to package this content. You must also know the kind of audience that you are looking at. The audience, who will find this content relevant to them. And then you look at the business angle of it. The business angle of it is, okay, how do I bring in advertisers, okay, to take advantage of my platform to be able to sell their products or their services during my program, on my station. That is the business angle of it. And then, of course, you also have to think out of the box because, okay, looking at how how most of these professionals go about it these days is a different ball game. They look at the different stations, what they offer. They try to do a different thing altogether, and then they do what we call research to find out from the audience what are they yearning for, what are they looking for in a radio station or in a television station. So they come up with those kind of contents. So these are the kind of things that are required of you to do,
All
to thrive
right.
in the
I wish we
industry.
could go on and on, but time is no longer on our side. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
I have learned a whole lot
Thank you.
speaking with you.
Thank you.
Well, stay with us. It's the Monday edition of Good Morning Abuja. We have more tips coming your way after the break. All right, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, last week the United Nations marked the Global Day for Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. Of course, this is a very dastardly act and the disadvantages of it is way too grievous, and all hands need to be on deck to put a full stop to it. So this morning, of course, on the program, we're going to be lending our voices to ending female genital mutilation. We will also take a look at the trauma of survivors. Please help me welcome my guest. She's a legal practitioner as well as a human rights activist, Barrister Yewande Ogundigbe. Good
Thank
morning.
you. Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to have you
It's
on
a
the
pleasure
program.
being here again.
Thank you so much for
having me.
coming.
You're welcome.
All right, I want us to start this way. Let us try to take a look at basic human rights, globally accepted human rights. What do they entail?
All right. Thank you. Like we all know, we are all global citizens, and every citizen has their rights in every society. So globally, as a citizen of Nigeria and as a citizen of the world, wherever you go, we all have basic rights. One of which is right to life, right to dignity of human person, right to freedom of association, right to freedom of speech. We have several rights, just to mention a few. Those rights are what is expected for individual citizens of any country to enjoy. And in Nigeria, as a country, our rights are there, stated in the Constitution, for every citizen to go through, know, sensitize themselves about, and ensure that if it's broken or there's a breach, you go ahead and enforce your rights.
So can we establish that the act of perpetrating female genital mutilation is in any form? Can we go ahead and say this is an infringement of one's basic human rights?
Yes. It's an obvious infringement and violation of human rights. Why? Because number one, the right to life. Sometimes female gender mutilation leads to death of some of the victims. So the right to life has automatically been infringed and breached. The right to dignity of human person, that is also breached when you go ahead and mutilate a female's genitalia. We cannot go further without giving a definition, try and give like a layman's definition to what female gender mutilation is. What is it about? It's about the total removal or partial removal of a female's genitalia for purposes that are non-medical. That is a way of exempting medical practices that might involve removal of the genitals for medical reasons. But in this situation, when it comes to female genital mutilation, emphasis on the word mutilation. Do you get it? Mutilation now involves 4 aspects. According to UN, there are 4 stages of the mutilation. Is either 1, total or partial removal of the clitoris. I'm not a medical doctor. I will just try and say it to the bit of my understanding. That's the first stage. The second stage is the removal of the labia or the, what's it called now? The clitoris. Do you get it? That's the 2. Then the third stage is when you close up the labia. I don't know what that part is. When you close it up to reduce the size of the birth canal. Do you understand? Like I said earlier, I'm not a medical practitioner, but this is based on research and what I've studied. That's it. Then the last stage is any form of piercing, pricking, or burning of the female genital parts. Those are the 4 stages. Not being a doctor, explaining to a layman, that's scary enough. Do you understand? That shows that this is a very grievous act to perpetrate on children between the ages of 0 to 15 from studies. So you can imagine going through that gruesome, and most of these things are not even done under hygienic situations or conditions, and they're not done by experts. They're done by traditionalists or some so-called experts. What do they call circumcised? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So in all, when you look at the female gender mutilation issue from every angle, it's a gross violation of anybody's rights.
How traumatic can this be? I know a couple of women and girls who were mutilated for cultural reasons, of course, and they live with trauma. Talk to us about these traumas. They so many things they have to go through for life. How traumatic is this?
Watching 1 or 2 videos concerning United Nations and other NGOs interviewing of victims, it's like their self-confidence dies with the act. That is those that get circumcised. They call it circumcision according to the ignorant ones doing it at maybe an early age where they are conscious of themselves. The trauma is more. Then there are some that get done maybe at the age of 1 or 2 or something. It's still traumatic for them. Do you get it? Because of the discomfort. Do you get it? It's discomforting enough when maybe sometimes people suffer from infections, let alone when a whole body part is severed right under your nose without any form of sedation. I don't want to go through the gruesome act. Do you get it? But it can be traumatic enough for anybody. Do you get it? It might lead to them not even wanting to be touched. Maybe when they get married later or something. And mind you, culturally, most of these beliefs, they believe once you don't do it, the lady might end up being promiscuous. Do you understand? She might end up losing her virginity before marriage. How ignorant. Do you get? Then based on those beliefs, you now make a woman go through that trauma that is relieved anytime anything wants to happen down there. The same people you want them, okay, fine, we don't want you to be promiscuous, end up getting married, and the acts they are meant to perform with their husbands, form of consummation, can't even take place because you've traumatized them enough. Do you get? Some of them can't even undress in front of their female friends. Why? Because they know that part looks funny. Like I just tried to describe earlier now, the mutilation. You need to see the gory pictures. Do you understand? Very different from what you should see. Like I said, I'm not a medical doctor, but we all know the images we were taught in biology. When you now see a different image, there's a tendency to ask questions. So it's embarrassing for them with their friends. When they get married, it's embarrassing. So at the end of the day, the situation you are trying to save by preventing someone from being promiscuous, you end up even destroying it. And mind you, one of the side effects of gender mutilation is that there might be birth complications. Some women end up losing their lives, especially if they were the ones that went through the 3rd stage, whereby they close up, they restructure the reproductive system of a woman without being medical experts. So automatically the restructuring, especially when done at a young age, becomes almost permanent. You end up reducing the birth canal. It can lead to the infants dying. It can even lead to the woman herself dying at childbirth. So the traumatic experience from female genital mutilation is like everlasting for the victims, and only best left imagined.
Serious. So we've been on this matter for years now, trying a lot of NGOs are canvassing individuals, the United Nations bodies, but we still have a prevalence of it. What seems to be the problem?
Um, well, unfortunately, I cannot really say this is how we got here, but some factors are responsible for it. Now, let me lay this premise. Africa, Asia, and then some part of Middle East are the countries with the highest numbers of female gender mutilation. Then Nigeria, when it comes to Africa, is part of the first three countries with the highest
Wow.
number, yes, alongside Egypt and Ethiopia. That's scary enough. Now, coming to Nigeria itself, you'll be shocked that it is the southwestern states that have the highest number, specifically Osun State, has like 50% rate of the female gender mutilation issues happening in Nigeria currently. Now, going to why we are still here, why we're still talking about it, why it has not been totally eradicated. Your guess is as good as mine. Number one, the mode of enforcement, because like I said earlier, this is an infringement of the rights of victims constitutionally, and also the law, that is Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, Section 6 specifically, prohibits female gender mutilation. Now gives the years of imprisonment or fine or both. It's 4 years imprisonment, then a fine of 200,000. As far as I'm concerned, that is a slap on the wrist. The law itself is giving offenders a slap on the wrist. Then we now have an issue of lack of enforcement. I tried to Google what are the cases of female gender mutilation. How many people have been prosecuted? None.
Wow.
I stand to be corrected. Perhaps any prosecutor has a case in court where someone is standing trial for female gender mutilation. Kindly oblige us with that information. I would definitely assure you none is existing. So how can you have a law that is not being enforced? Do you get it? And then when we now go down to the grassroots, because such things happen more at the grassroots level, those elderly women that go ahead and do all these dastardly acts of mutilating a female or a girl's genitals. What has happened to these women? Has any of them been picked up? Have they been put on trial? Do you understand? Have they been arrested for the dastardly acts? Then the victims themselves, their parents, are they speaking up, or you are seeing it as part of tradition? So till you cross that barrier, till you are able to break that brick wall of come out and speak, is this right? You have been mutilated. How far did you get you? Did it stop you from being promiscuous? Do you enjoy sexual relationship in your marriage? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? At least that's the aim of doing it in the first place. Has it gotten you far? That is the aspect of those at the grassroots, what they need to do. Traditional rulers, community leaders, engage your people. Then you talked about NGOs. Majority of the non-governmental organizations in Nigeria are underfunded. I have one I'm running myself with my personal funds. Do you get it? We strive to just do programs. Such programs are capital intensive. Do you get? Because you need to go with pamphlets, you need to do jingles, you need to be able to do something to attract them. Do you understand? They're expensive. Is it an NGO that is yet to take up, that will not take up such responsibilities? And the ones that have access to funds are sometimes more concerned about running big programs where the so-called women that are affected cannot even afford to attend. Do you understand? They would rather do big programs in big hotels, talk about female genital mutilation, get a lot of funds and raise a lot of funds that never really gets to the people that need to canvass or to educate those at the grassroots on the need to stop this scourge, because really it is a scourge. If it has gone on this long, if it has gone on this far, is a scourge just like domestic violence that has refused to leave our climb. And why is it still there? Because directly and indirectly, we are housing it, we are harboring it. Do you understand? We are tolerating it till we say no. More of sincerity on the part of law enforcement, more of sincerity on the part of the government, more of sincerity on the part of the CSOs and then the non-governmental organizations. If we all come together as a force, let's stop this thing. We'll definitely get an end to it.
Thank you so much. We'll take a short break at this point. We will be right back with more. All right, welcome back. It's a Good Morning Abuja, and today we're lending our voices to ending FGM and, of course, taking a look at the traumas for the survivors. Speaking of survivors, how important is it that they need to come forward with their stories, their voices?
It's important these victims come forth with their stories and their voices in order to give credence to all this campaign. You know, there's so much campaign, hand female genital mutilation, and someone is asking, where are the victims? Do you get it? Where are they? The people you are fighting for, where are they? Who are they? So they really need to come out. That's if they are willing, if they will not feel stigmatized or you will not increase their trauma. They need to come out and speak. They're mothers of these children, all these infants. Like I told you, it's ages 0 to 15 that can undergo this gruesome act. It's even more traumatic the older they are. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if these mothers can come out, you want these children, come out. This thing they are trying to prevent is not even preventing anything in the long run. So why are you making these girls go through this trauma? It's unnecessary. Till they come out, and not just coming out, you come out to be helped. Do you have psychologists ready to talk to them? Do you have therapists ready to talk to them? Sometimes they might even need reconstruction. You might need to go do scans. I'm not a medical practitioner once again. Do scans, find out if these body parts have been closed up. What can you do to open it to prevent further loss during childbirth? I just explained earlier that some people lose their lives because the birth canal has been narrowed down due to ignorance during some of these practices. So when these victims come out, that is, if they do come out, they will come out when they know that yes, they will be heard, they will not be judged, and they will be helped. It's just like a rape victim. You tell them, come out and do what, so that you can use me as social media story. No, am I coming out for you to help me? Am I coming out for my perpetrator to be brought to book, to be brought to justice, to be imprisoned? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because whether you like it or not, a victim coming out, part of the respite, part of the consolation is the fact that, okay, fine, you're coming out, and then you will be helped. And thank God once again for the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which goes further to say that victims can be compensated by their assailant. They can be compensated. So if this mama that has been doing it has some millions stashed somewhere, you compensate your victim. Do you get? So it's not just about coming out. It's about knowing that when I come out, I will be helped. I will get the help I need. I will be psychologically reorientated for a better future, to enjoy my husband, to have a good childbirth and delivery. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So that's just the way it comes in.
Finally, before we go, the theme for the year is step up the pace, and then there's this recent canvassing of empowerment for the girl child, to facilitate sustainable development. How important is girl child education? We need to make sure this doesn't cross over to the next generation.
Unfortunately, just like domestic violence, a lot of things will end up crossing over to the next generation. It's sad, but it's the obvious truth. Do you understand? Because all these campaigns now, how effective is it? You need to go to schools and find out how many non-governmental organizations came to do this campaign during this whole week of awareness. Do you understand? These local schools. Mind you, I have serious connection with local schools, primary schools and secondary schools and all that. Sometimes when you want to go do campaigns with them, they will make you go through rigorous steps. Like secondary schools now, you cannot go there without writing a letter first to their board. Primary schools, you have direct access. But the thing now is how many non-governmental agencies or non-governmental organizations are ready to go there. Do you understand? How many are willing and ready to go there? As a matter of practice, my own organization, we try as much as possible to be in contact with the grassroots. I still had a program yesterday. We try as much as contact. No, don't just say you're an NGO, you're operating. What are you doing? Are these people feeling your impact? So really, till we go ahead and then stop all this social media or online advocacy and really go and meet these girls, take the fight to these people that really need our help, we won't go far. So the girl child out there is crying, is waiting. Come and educate me. Come and train me. Come and help me. It's just like the Nigerian child holding up their hands. Help us. So who is willing to take the bait and go and help them? We still have a very long way to go.
Well, I thank you so much for coming to lend your voice, and we wish you all the very best as you continue to try, to contribute your quota to ending this scourge. Well, what more can I say there? Let us step up the pace. You play your part, I play my part. Everybody's hands need to be on deck to try and make sure that this does not cross over to the next generation of young girls coming after us. Stay with us. It's still Good Morning Abuja. We will take another short break and be right back.